Welcome to our program where you will hear the raw truth. My name is George, I am your brother, and I love you. We are pleased to announce that today's program is sponsored by AG Fashions, located at 2280 Frederick Douglass Boulevard, which is 8th Avenue between 122nd and 123rd Streets. They produce men's and women's tailor-made clothing and also men's and women's stock clothing designed by Abdu Gueyi. Their telephone number is 212-932-0826. That's 212-932-0826, and I hope you will give them a call. Thank you. Today is part of the final part of a series devoted to the Tyrant Mother. Today's subject is the adult behavior of children of the Tyrant Mother. However, before getting into our subject for the day, I remind everyone that most of what you hear on this program is based upon the principles contained in my book, Dear Brothers and Sisters, Gender and Its Responsibility. You can call this number to get information about our book. We also have flyers here. The Raw Truth by George, which contains information about this program and when it's on. We have here two articles. One is, Are You a Bull or Are You Hamburger Meat? The other one, American Women and the Harem Master. And it shows the increased government control of our women. As is our practice, we review the 7 major issues affecting society to keep those issues foremost in our minds so the day will come when we will collectively start making changes. First and foremost, we have 1.5 million American men in prison. We have the highest incarceration rate in the world. That means, in simple language, we have more men per capita living in cages than any other nation in the world. Our prison population has been doubling every 10 years. In 1972, it was 250,000. In 1982, it was 500,000. In 1992, it was 1 million. It was 1.5 million by the end of '96, and by the year 2000, it is expected to be 2 million. It is time, my brothers and sisters, that we do something about this. We have 1 million youth living in street gangs. Of course they're living in street gangs. Most of them come from homes in which the fathers are not there or in prison. Number 3, our women are suffering from increased physical, mental, and emotional problems. They are stressed out, overworked, apprehensive about their safety and the safety of their children. Number 4, we have an increased incidence of crime, and do not let this temporary dip in crime fool you. This nation has swept the streets of 500,000 men in the past 4 years and thrown them into prison. Once men of similar age hit the street again, there will be an increase in all sorts of crime. They have to be, because they have not been taught responsible manly traits. Number 5, our academic institutions are in a state of dysfunction. Our high schools are holding pens in which little more is learned than how to use condoms. And our colleges and universities give increasingly high grade point averages to students with lower and lower SAT scores. We are not too far from the day when everyone will have an A and nobody will know anything. Number 6, our economy is stagnant at best because we have forgotten the source of new, and it is new that creates jobs, and new comes from the creative will of the masculine gender and nowhere else. That's where new comes from. Number 7, morals, ethics, standards have disappeared from the media and from most of society as well. Now, getting to today's program, adult behavior of children of the Tyrant Mother. To just review, two weeks ago we had the Tyrant Mother, who she was, how she got to be the Tyrant Mother. That was followed up by children of the Tyrant Mother, how these mothers abused their children. Today we're going to deal with the behavior of these children when they become adults, which you will decide as you hear this program if this is not prevalent today, if in fact it is not an epidemic today. We all want to be close to our mothers. After all, mothers represent nurturing. But the tyrant mother, we know if you get too close to her, she may lash out and claw you. So we don't want to be so far as to not be loved, but not so close as to be injured. So we become ambivalent in our relationship to mom and in our relationship to the opposite sex, whether we be men or women. Think about that, my brothers and sisters. That statement is key to everything that you're going to hear in this program today. We tend to become ambivalent in our relationships. And after all, relationships is a key word today. Frankly, I don't believe in relationships, I believe in commitments. But children of the tyrant mother find it extremely difficult to commit. Now, there are three, before we get into specific descriptions, in general, there are three ways of protecting ourselves towards another person in a social interaction, or with our bosses, with our wives, with our children, what have you. One is to be perfect, to do everything so good, to be the goodest little girl, the goodest little boy that you know how to be. I'm talking now as an adult. You become the goodest woman, or the goodest man that you know how to be, so that you never will be in trouble with anybody. Or you could be aggressive. You're not going to let anybody hurt you. You're not putting up with anybody's nonsense. Okay? That's number two. And number three is to conduct yourself in such a way as not to be hurt. You don't get that emotionally involved. You don't let anybody get too close to you. You cannot be hurt. Okay? Cannot be loved either, as we'll see. Now, most people use, maybe one trait tends to predominate, but most people have two or three of these things mixed together. That is, you might be an employee that does everything as good as you know how to do it, as perfect as you know how to do it. Then, in your personal relationships with people, you may be aggressive. You ain't going to push me around. Do a good job, but you ain't going to push me around. Oh, I'm not going to take any nonsense. No, I was hurt enough as a child. You don't think of that, but that's deep down inside of you, and nobody's going to hurt me now. Right? Or number three, combined maybe with number one, that you're the goodest person, the best employee, the best boss, the best neighbor, whatever, the nicest person, but you're not going to get so close to anybody that you can get hurt. Remember what I said again about getting too close to the tyrant mother. You want to be left out, you want to be nurtured, but you don't want to get so close that you'll get clawed, right? That's the third category, which is very, very sad. All of these are very, very sad. Very sad, all right? Now, first I'm going to speak to the women in particular, since you are more relationship-oriented, more socially oriented, more oriented towards relating with people, right? But I'm talking not only your relationship with your sisters, with your girlfriends, but let's talk about the important relationship, all right? The term that you use today, relationship, that is, and how you're getting along with a man, okay? Now, those women who have a strong tyrant mother background, and they could have a tyrant father background too, but since the majority of children today were raised by a single mother, not a single father, right, it falls that it is the tyrant mother background that's in them on a subjective basis. Now, what happens when they meet a man whom they happen to fall very much in love with? Right? Or feel they have a tremendous, what we say, chemistry for. Now, some might immediately recognize the feeling that they have and immediately put out the defenses. All right? And I have seen or heard from all the things that I'm going to tell you right now. These are the kind of defenses that they're going to put up. Well, I really want to marry a white man. That is if she's black. Or I really want to marry a black man, if she's white. Or I really want to marry a white man if she's white. Or I really want to marry a black man if she's black. What I'm saying is, whatever color you are, that's not the kind of man she wanted to marry. That's what she might say to you at lunchtime. Or, well, you're looking for a woman with these kinds of traits. You never said that. But see, she's putting it out there because she knows she's not a woman with those kinds of traits, whatever they are. You might want to marry a woman successful in business, or you might want to marry a woman that cooks good, but she's going to throw out there whatever she isn't. Or she's going to throw out, oh, she's very busy, she doesn't have time for relationships. Or, she can't, get involved with it now. She just had a family situation, maybe in 6 months from now. All of this is defensive fortifications, not to let a person get too close to her. Because if a person gets too close to her, she might get hurt. And why does she feel she might get hurt? Because way back when, on the subconscious basis now, she's thinking of her childhood. She doesn't realize it. On a conscious, objective basis, she's thinking, there she was, that defenseless little girl, and she got crushed. That's not going to happen to her anymore. That's in her thinking. It's really tragic. It's tragic. It hurts me today. I'm an older man. Many women confide in me, and I see these things all around me, and it hurts. My heart weeps for these women whose natural instinct is to find a good man and nurture him and have his children and nurture them, but they can't allow themselves to be loved. They put defenses in the way. Or they may be, let's go to the aggressive one, especially those that read the feminist books right now, how to assert yourself, how to be assertive, how not to be the traditional female, how to get what you want, how not to do what he wants, which is all unnatural. All of this is unnatural, okay? They're going to be aggressive. And their aggressiveness is going to chase a man away. But that's what they want to do, because they don't want to be hurt. Deep down, they don't want to be hurt. So they're pushing love away. There are millions of women walking the streets of this nation who are dying for love and pushing it away at the same time. We want to be close to the Tyrant Mother, but we want to get too close, she may hurt us. Okay? Now, the other one is to be unemotional. You won't let yourself be hurt. Be objective. How can love be objective? If there's one thing, or any one thing love is, it's not objective, okay? Now, if you conduct yourself in such a way, it's not to be hurt, not to get too involved, not to get too enthused in anything. It's true, you probably won't be hurt. You won't experience love either, because there really is only one way to experience love, whether you're a man or whether you're a woman. And that is, you have to expose the soft underbelly. Right? You have to open yourself to love, and when you open yourself to love, you open yourself to being hurt. You make yourself vulnerable. Oh, what a torture this is for the women. What a torture, what a torture, what a torture. Right? So what do they do to take care of their natural, nurturing instincts, since they don't allow a loving man to get close enough to them? They get pets. They get dogs, cats, parakeets, and their nurturing expression comes out in the pet, right? Or is able to manifest itself in a pet. There's even books in it. Read the women's studies, how to allow yourself to utilize your nurturing instincts, you nurture a pet. Not a man, not a child, but a pet. Isn't that sad? To nurture pets instead of men and children? And for sex life, since no one is able to get close to them, right, they have one-nighters and vibrators. Think about that. Think about that, all of you women who are listening out there now, right? You don't let a man get close. You nurture pets, and your sex life is vibrators and one-nighters. How sad. Oh, how terribly sad. I mean sad. Okay? Well, and also, what do many women do? Rather than go out and date a man whom they recognize, they love, they will drop him or not continue the relationship and go out with a man whom they don't love because now they can't be hurt. They go out for dinner, they go to the theater, they have a little sex, but there's no emotion. That's the last category that I mentioned, right? You conduct yourself in a manner in which you can't be hurt. And they do, and they make a career of it. Okay? And they talk that, well, the men don't commit, but they will only draw onto them, you know, those men who won't commit. Or they may even draw onto them men who will commit, but they push the buttons that he's not going to commit. Okay? So it's safe, to go out with a man whom you're not in love with. It's safe. Okay? It'll never be loving. And then these same women will go in for therapy. They'll go in for counseling. They'll go to adult education groups. They'll go to support groups, saying, oh, what a horrible world this is. But they're creating that world. You know, your thoughts make the world that you live in. Right? Whatever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. That also applies to women. Just know that. You draw onto you what you want. You draw onto you what you put out. You're not going to get hurt. You'll find a man who's not going to hurt you, not going to love you. Okay? You want to be aggressive and assertive and be tough? Fine. He's never going to be the man that's going to give you warmth and confidence and assurance. Think about this, ladies. Think about it deeply. There's a whole nation full of women who cannot commit, never mind relate. You know, relationship, as far as I'm concerned, is practically a dirty word today, the way it's used. I mean, we all have relationships. I have a relationship with the mailman. I have a relationship with the guy in the store. I have a relationship with the bus driver. I have a relationship with the fellow at the newsstand. That means relating, okay? The way relationship used today is, you know, it's something different, okay? It means, am I having sex lately? It means, am I having sex on a steady basis, which I feel is sad to even talk about that. I'm not in a relationship now. It means I'm not getting it regular. That's what I'm not in a relationship means, right? I'm not getting it regular, okay? Of course, they really never get it regular when they're in a relationship because they never like anybody enough to be wanting to get it regular from him, which is another thing I've noticed. There are women who say, well, I have a boyfriend. And when do you see him? Well, they work late every night. You know, they don't have time to see the boyfriend. On Sunday nights, they go dancing or whatever, or Saturday nights, they go to some special. Well, when do you see the guy? Well, once a week? And once a week covers everything? You know, there's more promiscuity today than ever, and less sex. You think about that. More promiscuity and less sex. And the reason there's less sex, they don't like the person whom they're with. So they don't want to do it so much. Sad. Sad. Think about this out there, men and women. Think about how sad this is, okay? Women using their nurturing ability on hamsters, parakeets, cats, and dogs, and their sex life is vibrators and one-nighters. Meanwhile, the men are lonely, okay, and unnurtured. Sound like people you know? Sound like yourself? Take a good look in the mirror. Right? Have you made any commitments? Are you married? Why not? Are you divorced? Thinking getting married again? Why not? Well, you don't want to make a commitment. Hey, you want to do your own thing? That's the latest. That's in the women's studies groups, you know, books, I mean. Going to do your own thing? I don't know, have no idea what your own thing is. I have no idea what a nice man is, for that matter, either. Okay? The reason for seeking a mate is not for entertainment. Yet you look at these personal ads by women today. I want a funny man. I want a man who's going to make me laugh. That's entertainment. How can any man make you laugh for a lifetime? So what happens after a few years of his jokes, his laughter, his good time? You get bored. Look for somebody else because you don't even have the right reason for a relationship. No, for a commitment. You don't have one, but you can't make a commitment, can you? Because you might get hurt. And all of you ladies that study aggressiveness, assertiveness, how to be tough. Why do you have to be aggressive, assertive, and how to be tough with someone whom you love? Right? If you want to be strong, you have to be strong. Strength is allowing yourself to let go with the man whom you love. See, when a woman is really in love with a man, she feels naked in front of him. Now, those women who have the hang-ups from childhood, that nakedness scares them. They can't deal with it. They don't want to continue into a relationship or even start a relationship with that kind of a man. Yet the truly strong woman who has no hang-ups can enter into that because of what a glorious and wonderful thing it is to know that he sees me naked and loves me the way I am. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And you ladies, if you ever feel that way about a man, I can tell you now, let it be. Show it to him and make a commitment with him, that man, because that's the way life is supposed to be. Okay? Now, let's get to some other aspects of life other than relationships. I did devote a lot of time to it because we're becoming a nation where people won't marry anymore. And we've got to get married again for society to function. We just have to get married again. Right? For society to function properly in every way. But aside from these relationships now, and by the way, men have the same problem. Those men that are always saying, well, they don't find loving women, you know, they don't find true women, they don't find loyal women, they don't find... They're drawing unto themselves the same stuff, the same junk, the same soot they're putting out from their childhood as the women who do that. No two ways about it. Man or woman, in order to receive love, right, you have to be open to it. When you're open to it, you're open to hurt also. Okay? But that's the only way that you're going to be loved. Now, children of the tyrant mother, which really are abused children, tend to be C students. Or they may be A students in school, but you'll find that they're underachievers in life. Or if they're overachievers in life, there's going to be something missing in their makeup that's going to be indicative of the three things I mentioned. Now, I read a little bit about our President John F. Kennedy, and there's no question that that man was not an underachiever. Right? He received an award for the book that he wrote. He was the President of the United States. But in a biography written about him and his wife recently, it was stated that he never experienced love, had no love. Sex was just a physical outlet, no love. This is typical, that's category 3. You won't get hurt. You won't get hurt. How about somebody like John Lennon? He suffered under a tyrant mother. His father was a seafaring man. When his father was gone, his mother gave him to a sister, his aunt, to take care of. Didn't want to have much to do with him. When his father came back from sailing the ships, the boy was very close to his father, but the parents were separated. The mother made John Lennon make a choice. It's him or me. Imagine a 4-year-old being put, you know, his feet held to the fire to make a choice. What happened with John Lennon when he grew up? He was an overachiever, wasn't he? But did you notice how Yoko Ono called all the shots? No? There's been many papers have written about that. Did you see the picture of him on one of the records that he made, nude in the fetal position, kissing Yoko Ono? Okay? Keep in mind, brothers and sisters, we tend to recreate our own environment. If we're in an environment which we don't like, we leave. Let's say we're in New York, and we're going to say, I don't like this environment, I'm moving to Chicago. The first thing that we do when we get to Chicago is recreate the environment that we didn't like in New York. If you want to change your life, you don't move, you change your inner being. All right? Your inner being. But the children of the tyrant mother recreate their childhood, and in general, they marry their mothers. The women marry their mothers, and the men marry their mothers. Now, briefly, with the men as adults, They will be the men that can't make decisions, will leave loose ends, leave loopholes in their agreements, will tend to not want to put things in writing, will never really get the brass ring, will never really get the promotion, will really never sustain success, will be indecisive, non-committal, leave it loose, leave it safe. Okay, we're getting back to that safe. You don't want to get too close, you don't want to get too far, you stay in the middle ground, all right? That's indicative of the children of the tyrant mother everywhere, men or women. And it manifests itself in certain ways. We won't get too close or too far in a relationship. We won't get too close or too far in a business commitment. We'll get too close, too far in our relationship with our children. Now, as we're nearing a close on this program, I do want to say one thing which I should have mentioned in the last two programs. Of all the millions of you who were raised by a single mother, who was not necessarily a tyrant, but even if you were raised by a tyrant mother, and you grew up, and you became successful, I admire you for your success. I admire you for having made a good marriage. I admire you for having made a commitment. And I understand the hurt and struggle and turmoil that you went through to bring it about. Now, you know what you went through. Let's not bring another generation through that. Let's now, you and I and all the other people who are hearing this, start doing things different, okay? Let's have mothers and fathers raise children together. Let's do away with the tyrants. Let's have stability in the homes of our children, and let's move America forward. Thank you for being with us this day. See you next week.